So today we're gonna study HTML forms. We have covered up to ID and everything above. So now let's start with the HTML form. So what are HTML forms? These are like a user input. So you see like this is the search bar here. This is like a form. Like this is the input field where user can type anything and then they can just submit it. Like you are searching something, you say HTML and you search or user have like first name, last name. Whenever you submit the data, you have some kind of form. Let's say this is like a form and you have first name, last name and button to click and it will submit the data. So you might have like submitted lot of form like this, and how do you create this kind of form? So this is how we create a form in HTML. So we have for the HTML form, we have form tag. So let's go to our code and see how we create a form. Let's start with a new tutorial, say form tutorial. Okay. So you have a form tag and now you close the tag. So inside form you have different inputs. So there is like a first input is like the first name and these are like a label. So you need to create a label of what the input is about. So you have a tag called label and you can put like first name here, and then you have input. So you have another input which says John. So if you have to create input, you have input tag, and then this is the self-closing tag. So this is like a opening and closing tag, but this is like a self-closing tag. And inside input, you have two attribute like valuable attribute that you need to know. So first is like type. That is the type of this input. So this input can be text. You can enter a text data here, but there are different type of input we can discuss later. And then another is name. So what is the name of this input? So this is like first name, first name. You can say. Okay. Now you save this. Go to your page. Refresh. So now you have created a simple form which is first name and last name. But you see these are in the same line. But if I have to do in another line, so this will be the first line and this will go below this label. So you have another tag that is BR and this is a self-closing tag. So BR is like self-closing tag, but this means a break line. So if you just want to put a break at some point, break line, you use this tag called BR and tag break line. Use this break line tag to add break. So if I just save this and show you here, now this first name is here, but this will come down below. So first name is here and this input is down below. You see, if I just put another break line also, you'll see the difference. Let's say I put break line here, I put break line here, and you see there is another break line, so there is a space between these two inputs. Let's put here heading as h1 as HTML form. So now this is the HTML form, and you have first name, last name, but just remove, just put one. So now if you have to create another kind of input, let's say first name you have this, but label again, let's say email, and again now you put a BR for the break line and create another input. So how do you create input? You put input and self-closing tag, and inside input you define type. So this email can be type either text, you can just put text also, or you can just put email also. So anything is fine here, but let's say name will be email. So why I am putting this type as text and email? Because there is a different check. So if it is text, you can enter anything. But if it is email, you have to put like email is in different format, right? So if it is email, email already like all the email will have some name like at the rate and dot com. All the email will have something like abc abc at the rate abc.com like that. So all the email will be in this format, but text can be in any format. So if I just have to ask user to enter email only here, you just put email here. So user can only enter email here. If they put text, then they will say enter an email. Okay. But another attribute is also there. Like you can say, let's create one button here. Okay. Input type equal to. So I am creating a submit. So this I'm only creating a button here just to show you like what happens when you click a button when you have fill out the form. So okay, let's put a line break here because this email is here. I just put a line break here, so email will just go down below. You see now. Now you have this form. Let's say my name is Pawan, email pawan@gmail.com, and now you submit it. Okay, you submit, nothing happens, right? I can say anything here, Pawan or Pawan. This is not a valid email, but it says now if I submit it, it says include at the rate in the email. It that this at the rate is missing because this is an email, right? So if I just put here text, I can submit anything. Like if I just refresh this now, and I can put Pawan, and I can see like this, I can submit it. It's working fine. But if I put email here, email, then it won't work. So if I just put Pawan, but again I say this and try to submit, it says include and at the rate in the email. This is not a correct email, it's saying. Okay. But there is one more thing, like I can just submit without filling this. Like I can submit this form without filling it. It is working, right? It is not giving me error. So what you can do is, if this field is required, the user has to fill some data, then you have this field like required. So you just put required and required here and save it. So if I just save this and refresh, now if I submit it, it is giving me please fill out this form because this is now required. So now again, if I put forward and again submit this, again it says please fill out this field because this is required. Now again, I have to put email and submit. Now this is working. Again, if I put forward and put invalid email, see if there is nothing, I submit. It says please fill out this field. If I put anything, it says please include at, at the rate in the email address. So this is like a check. It's like a checking. This field is required. This field is required. So you can submit it if this is still are required. Another catch is also here. There is one more attribute because this is label, right? If some form doesn't have label, so you put like a placeholder, and you say user enter your first name. Okay. So what does this placeholder does is like tell the user, like display the user what you have to enter here. So you can say enter your email. Okay. So if I save this, you'll see in the here it says enter your first name, enter your email. Now if I click it, I can enter anything and this goes away. So it's like a placeholder. It is showing user what you have to enter in this field. If there is no label, because label is already saying first name, but you can also put this placeholder so user can understand what I have to enter, what I have to enter here. Okay. So this is like a text you just put inside the input field to say, also tell the user what you have to enter. So another input field is like a password also. Like you have, let's say, label and password. Okay. And how do you create? Because password are not visible to the user. When you type anything in the password field, so the type will be password here. The name you can say password. Okay. So when I do like this and refresh, so this is my password field. If I add anything here, this is not visible to user. If I type, because this is the password, so it is secure. So whatever you enter, no one can see this. Okay, so the type is password or password value, and you can also say here placeholder. Placeholder is equal to enter your password, and you can put required here also. Required. So now you see, enter your password. So now how do you change this to another line? What you have to do, you just put a BR. So if I just put here BR there, close it, it will fix. Again, I have to put the BR here. Save. You see, now this is all first name, email, password, all are aligned properly. And so this is like a common kind of field, but you have other input fields like, for example, input. The other is, let's say, labor. And now you have a like gender, where you have to select what is your gender. Let's say you have input type, so uh, you can say type is equal to check box, no, combo box, and then mail, and save it to a check box. So, and put mail. So now you have the tick option like male, you take male, female, you take female. So these are like a checkbox. So here the type you define is like a checkbox. Okay, and you can also put something. Uh, okay, so let's see what we have. So this is covered. Yeah, checkbox is covered. Okay, radio button. Yeah. So type is text. We have covered checkbox, submit button, and radio box. So what is the radio box? Let's say if I have to put here radio itself, so radio, and name will be gender, value, name. So now these are like a radio box. So what is radio box? It's like a circular. and you have like a dot here. So if I select here, I can only select one of these options. I cannot select like in case of like checkbox, like when we had text this as a checkbox, checkbox layer. So if this was a checkbox, I can tick anything, like both of these things, gender, male and female, both. But you have to like, if they have to select either one of these, like male and female, so you create like a radio button. So these are like, I can only select one. It's jumping. If I select to this, it will remove from this. But these are like a checkbox. So if you have something like, let's say, country, country visited. If someone say like country visited and you say like Nepal and India, it should be value here. Nepal, India. So you can pick any option now. Like Nepal, you can pick Nepal or India or only India, like that. It should be at India. You see what I'm saying? Like this gender is like a radio button. So if I select male or female, I can only choose one option here. But the country visited, I can choose either Nepal or India or both, and then I can submit. So the difference you need to notice here is the type here is a radio button, and the name I say gender. Both name is gender. Why? Because these belongs to. If I say here gender one, then I can tick both because these two radio button is different now. This is different. This is different. I can choose both, right? But these two button, I have to pick one out of these two. So both name has to be same. So name is gender, but the value here is different. So value means if I choose one option here, if I choose one option here, this value is containing, this value of this button is containing male. If I choose this, it will contain value as female. So value is something that you submit when you click submit here. Okay. So I'll show you this why when we go more into the tutorial, like JavaScript, this value will be needed when you submit the form. So each form that you fill here, let's say for one here, so this for one is a value. So if I just go input here, like value equal to for one, then this form is already filled with the value for one. So if I refresh here, now the C pawan is already there. If I refresh, the pawan is already there, but I can edit this. I can remove and say Ram, Sam, or anything. So this if you put a value by default, this value is already filling the form. Like the form will already have certain value when you open this form. So male and female, you just have to select it, either male or female. So if I select male, the value is male. If I select female, the value is female. And in the same for the country visit, like I select Nepal, the value here is Nepal, value here is India. So like that, the value here is different. But these are like showing to the user what you are selecting. So if I remove Nepal from here, there is no visibility in the UI what I am selecting. See, there is two checkbox, but this checkbox doesn't have anything. So I just put here like Nepal. You can put like this also, or I showed you like you can use a span here for inline block, like inline block or block level. If I put paragraph, it will come into different place, like in the different whole, it will cover the whole page. You see, Nepal is covering the whole page. but I have to use a span here, a span. So it will be like in the same line. So same line. So you can use a span here, or without a span also, like India, you can do like this. So if I use the span here also, let's say India. So this is good. Okay. So this is how you have different kind of form input. So gender, so there is like email. So we have type as text, email, password, radio, checkbox, submit. Sometimes like checkbox is generally used. Sometimes like you say you'll have something like input checkbox here. Let's click another checkbox and say I agree to terms and conditions like this, and they will put required here. So you have to check this and say you have there is no value, or you can just say agree, agree as yes. So generally you'll see checkbox in some kind of like this form where you just click agree and submit like that. So these are the buttons like input forms, like input type form, like text. So how many input form we covered is like list out here. So input input types is like text, email, password, and radio, checkbox, submit. There is one more button. Button. So in case of submit, you can create a button here also, button and say button, and value here is also register. So you see the button is now is saying register, but this is not a submit button. So when I click this, it's not doing anything, right? So this is the difference between submit and button, but it looks like the same. If I say submit here, now refresh this. And now if I submit this, it is submitting the form. So it is giving me error message. But when it was a button, it is button, register button. It is not submitting the form. So see the difference here. So if I click this, there is nothing happening. But if I click this, it is giving me fill out to this form, fill out this field. So this is the difference. So these are the all the type of button. But there is one more. Okay, it's not a select. It's not like a input field, but it's like a select. So for example, you have something like you have a drop down and you have to select something. So you have a select nationality, for example, select nationality, and inside select you will have different options. So option Nepal and India, and now each option will have value. So value will be Nepal, value will be, and select will have a name. So name will be nationality. Save this. Now you see there is like a drop down kind of thing. I can select Nepal or India here, like a drop down kind of thing. So now nationality and select either Nepal or India. So this is nationality Nepal, India. You can create another option. Let's say USA. So in this drop down when I click, you have India, USA, you can select anything. It goes like a tick mark. It's saying like a tick mark. So this is the all the input fields in the HTML form. So yeah, so we have covered everything in the let's also HTML form. Let's see what we have. The form attributes. So in the form, I said like there are different attributes in the form, like text and ID class will already be their value. I have covered name. I have covered type already. Covered ID. You can put ID to style the form. Styling will be like a different topic we can discuss in CSS. But again, like you have to style anything. Let's say you are styling input, right? So you can do what we can do here is we just go to the style and say input, say width equal to 200 pixels, height 100 pixels, padding equal to 20 pixels. So again, I told you about padding right here, but the padding, if you just put one, it will apply to all four corners, like all left, top, right, all four sides, all four sides. This padding. So if I put padding 20, it will apply to all four sides. So now if I refresh this, see now padding has applied, height has increased. So you can just inspect it. So if you come here and see height, width is applied. If I just remove this width, it's changing. Height I have applied 100 pixels. I just shrink this, or I can just reduce to look better. So let's say 10 pixel only height. So this is looking good. If I say padding 20 pixels for the left right, but 10 pixels from top down, no, 5 pixels top down. This is looking good. So like this we can change. So if I remove this height as 10, padding as 10 and 5 pixels. Now your form is kind of looking better than before. You see, but these are like an input field with just a text. Like these are like an input box, but these are like a radio button, so this doesn't look good. So you can also further you can do what you can do here is like input and whichever is like a password or anything, you can put ID here to all the inputs. So like ID is also input field. Input field. So this ID I can put same to email address. Mm, yes, and password. And now I can use this input field to only style those three fields. So if I just put input ID and so since it is ID, you just put now save this. Now these are all same, but these are different. These are these three. I applied style to only these three. So these are male, female, car, India, agree, choose any country, register. Okay, fill something, fill something here, password, register. Like this, you can submit. Okay, so this is the overall form, creating a form in HTML. Okay, so if you have any question, you can ask. We can. So there are a lot of things remaining in the HTML, but let's go what we have covered, what we need to cover again. We come back to this HTML, but for now, the most commonly used are these only. So just practice all those first, and then tag list, HTML tag list. So what I have covered, what we have to cover. Let's see. So these are, I will just list out all the tags. List of all the HTML tags we covered and need to practice. So this is the comment tag already. This is define a comment tag. If it's copy. So this is like a comment tag. It's already inside a comment. So if you put comment inside comment, it will give error. So let's just ignore this comment tag. And you have doc type. Doc type, you need to understand why you use doc type and where you use doc type. Type HTML tag and then body, head, title, body, and H1 to H6 paragraph, paragraph link, image, what else? BR, use here I have a span, this use span, div, BR, table use BR. Sometimes you use horizontal line, HR also, like you just draw a horizontal line, you can just see how it is working. And then A, B, B, R, sometimes most commonly used, and U, L, O, L, L, I, table, T, H, T, D, T, R. These are table, and now form and input. And there is one more button. Button tag I haven't covered. We have to cover button. So I think these are all I have covered for now. Let's see. Let's go one by one. Body, VR, button, I have to cover. Caption, sometimes mostly caption, you understand caption, you can just see the example here. So, caption, embedded tag sometimes we use mostly, but not very frequently. Embed, footer, header, footer, we can see header, footer, header, footer, HTML, yeah, format, for example, formatting tag like U, like underline, or like the strong, or like EN. These are like formatting tags, not very frequently used. And the form, label, legend, main, map, menu, nav. So nav is remaining. These are remaining. So you can cover also a style tag. Style, style, yeah, script, to cover script, key, select, we have covered. The form itself, we have covered here. Select option. Strong style, sub, sub, this will be super, this super, body. In the form, one more tag I have to cover is text area. Text area. In the table, there are two more like T body, T foot, T head. Just go out and video sometimes. Video, audio. See, all this tag we have somehow covered up to this option. All this tag you have to practice and you need to know when to use which tag. Okay, these are also covered. These are also in the paragraph. All this tag are covered. We can cover the menu. Okay, yeah. So I will just send you this file and see the example of all this tag up to level, up to option, and understand to like to